All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be touching on the Week 6 core plays here. And so, as always, I do like to start out with the quarterback position. To me, I've kind of just settled in on Matthew Stafford. The only issue that I have with Matthew Stafford is that running back Kyren Williams is also going to be in a good spot. And Kyren Williams is also going to be at a very good price tag as well. That's kind of the appeal to both of these players. So, to me, it kind of seems like if you're not playing Matthew Stafford at the quarterback position at that cheap price tag, you probably want to be looking at Kyren Williams because this is supposed to be a game in which they're playing with the lead. Thus, I do think Kyren Williams has a little bit more chance to, maybe punch in a goal line touchdown. But really, we have seen Matthew Stafford's value in fantasy not exactly be there each week because Kyren Williams has been someone that has been able to punch it in pretty efficiently. So to me, it does seem to be one or the other situation. I am defaulting to Matthew Stafford. Just obviously, he has Cooper Kupp back. That's one more weapon. He really should have had another touchdown last week as well. 2-2 Atwell. He had just missed, well, not just missed him. He kind of overthrew him by a decent amount. But had he hit him, that would have been a huge chunk play. It's been 9 more points and right around 20 DraftKings points. He is a very safe play as well. So makes a lot of sense in cash if you guys are looking for GPP plays. Obviously now we have entered the part of the season where we are going to be running out more stacks and whatnot, where, the edge that we had really the first 4 weeks or so, just by being on the right players like a week or 2 or 3 before people, that edge has pretty much vanished. And so now we got to do a lot more game theory stuff. And I will still say Zach Wilson at this cheap price, definitely not a core play, definitely not someone you go crazy with, but maybe he's going to be someone that pops up on the lineup builder value section. All right, so now we get into the running back situation. Obviously, Devon Achane is going to be kind of the injury news that I need to bring up. At the start of the week, I always do a first look video for you guys, and I had mentioned how it was kind of laughable just how many people were celebrating the Devon Achane chalk hitting as a play. And I'm like, do people not realize that he was the RB2 in that game and it was Raheem Mostert as the RB1? And really, they should have played Mostert. He should have been more chalky given the likelihood of him having a good game compared to Achane. It was just kind of a weird thing. Now, my biggest worry is that everyone's going to be going with Mostert as that should be the obvious play. But my worry is that he actually goes into the Achane role and we see someone like Chris Brooks or Salvon Ahmed get into that RB1 type role. And what I mean by that is at the start of the season, we saw Ezekama kind of doing those ends around with Mostert on the field. And that's the thing. A lot of Achane's production came with Mostert actually on the field last week. And we have seen that each and every week. So my worry is that Mostert being, a fast player might take over the Ezekama Achane role. And then maybe Brooks or Ahmed actually takes over the RB1 role. Now I doubt that happens, but if we look back and Mostert doesn't have an awesome game against Carolina, he should have an awesome game against them. I think we're going to see that be the reason as to why. And you guys are saying, well, what do you mean? Achane's been a stud. Yes, but at the same time, having those long, big plays like that is just not sustainable. And to me, I would rather always take the snaps and the guaranteed touches. And I think we get that with Mostert, or we have been getting that with Mostert. I still think we'll get that. But I just want to provide that a little bit of caution to you guys. If it doesn't work out, we're going to know the reason as to why. And then from there, we did get news that David Montgomery is going to be treated as a workhorse running back. Great. I don't know if I really want to be touching him against the Bucks. Obviously, we have CMC still there. With Cleveland not having Watson, I do think that helps CMC out slightly in terms of game flow. But at the same time, maybe that game gets out of hand fast and he doesn't need to get that big workload and he doesn't dominate like we saw against Dallas. I do think I want to be going on my way to play Alvin Kamara. He has been his normal self and he's been productive. 18.7 and 21.4 points. This game is expected to be close, and we know that Houston is not good against the run. Now, last week, we were seeing a lot of interesting fronts out of them, a lot of 5-3, a lot of 4-4. With the Saints, they're not going to be able to do that, okay? So Kamara should be locked into at least a productive game. I think he's a very safe play. Makes a lot of logical sense in cash and in GPP. From there, I still think Swift is kind of calling my name going against the Jets, who really did not look good against the run last week. And he's been highly productive and he's been getting the snaps as well. As long as the targets are still there and as long as he's getting around 20-ish, maybe even 16-ish opportunities in this offensive system against the Jets, who, like I said, have been a little bit lackluster against the run. And obviously it's the Eagles. You can't scheme away one part of the offense because they have so many weapons. So I still think Swift is going to be a very good option. I really like kind of running out those three. And I've actually kind of been defaulting to going with more receivers in the flex. So we'll see if that changes. One thing that I want to call out, guys, is that I thought Chris Godwin was going to be an elite play this week because Mike Evans was going to be out. Mike Evans is expected to play. And I also want to mention the same thing for T. Higgins. It's actually starting to look like he might play with that rib injury. It was looking like Tyler Boyd and Trenton Irwin were going to be elite kind of values for us. That has since changed. So I actually kind of like that. It makes the slate to me a little bit more straightforward. Now, the one issue that I have is which Rams receiver do we want to be playing to pair with Matthew Stafford? And given the way that they're kind of priced, I don't think it's really going to matter. Tutu Atwell makes a lot of sense in GPPs, I will say. Like I said, should have had another touchdown in the game, a really big play. Puka Nacua was still heavily involved, like expected. Okay, could easily play him, and I've kind of been defaulting to him because even at this price tag, it still seems a little bit too low. And I don't know, I don't like playing the max price tag for Cooper Kupp when we could just get literally Puka for cheap. So I have been rolling with Puka, but I don't know if I really am still trying to go out of my way to roster him. I obviously, if we're playing Stafford, we want to. So I have just been putting him in there. But looking at other receivers that I'm going out of my way to roster this week, I have kind of come around to DJ Moore as a play. Even in those games besides Green Bay, they were still finding ways to get DJ Moore the football. And I believe it was against KC where maybe it's TB against Tampa. One of those games I'm like, guys, we're going to look back at this price tag and probably be kicking ourselves just for not like jamming him into our builds because it's going to be the cheapest price tag on him the whole season, even with the poor quarterback play and even with the like bad play calling that we had seen up to that point. And now that looks to be true. And now he gets a great matchup going against Minnesota. Now, Minnesota has been a little less hopeless, I would say, defensively this season. So I wouldn't say it's like a guarantee to go off, but he went off against Denver, went off against Washington. They were at least, Justin Fields is at least like forcing the football his way, and he's making the most of those. And so I do think he is at a very good price tag for us. That being said, I still think like Garrett Wilson is going to be in for a better game this game against Philly. Probably more of a GPP play. A lot of people are probably going to be going with Adam Thielen. He's just been getting targeted heavily. It does make sense. Gets a kind of good game script there against Miami. I don't have any problems with that. But to me, I was upset that Watson was ruled out because I thought Amari Cooper would be a good low-owned option for us. We're not looking at that now. I do think I want to be going out of my way to play Jacoby Myers. I mean, look at these stats, like 10, 12, and 10 targets with Jimmy G as the quarterback. Like, these are receiver number one numbers, and we're getting him at 5.8. I know the matchup with New England like leaves people with a bitter taste in their mouth, like clicking that, because typically speaking, like New England has been good defensively. That is not the case this year. And maybe you think, all right, Devontae Adams did not get the ball last week. They're going to try to find ways to manufacture the football to him this week. Sure, but at the same time, I don't think that's going to mean that Jacoby Myers doesn't get more work. It seemed like their game plan last week, and it'll probably be the game plan this week, unfortunately, is that they're trying not to lose the game more than they are trying to win the game. At the start of the week, I was pretty gung-ho about Jordan Addison, and I still am, guys, don't get me wrong, but at 5.7, I've kind of come around to we're probably just looking at KJ Osborne instead. Do I think Jordan Addison's going to score more? Yes. Do I think Jordan Addison has a higher ceiling? Yes. Do I think KJ Osborne can at least keep it close if Addison doesn't dominate? Yes. Especially in this matchup against the Bears, who, had been struggling. Kirk Cousins has looked really good thus far this season. I think I like KJ Osborne a little bit more at 4.4 than I do Addison now, which I don't like saying that because Addison just looks so much better. I mean, we have seen Osborne kind of struggle this year. He had 2 bad drops in their primetime game. That still leaves a bitter taste in my mouth there as well. So I still think it's the correct play at 4.4. I do just want to mention, like, Jonathan Mingo, like, he's not a core play in the sense that you're going out of your way to roster him, but if you love the rest of your build and you need to find a low price receiver, I think Mingo does make a lot of sense. This is most likely going to be a game where they're playing from behind. They're going to need him to get around 70% of the snaps like he had been. My worry is that Marshall, their other receiver, was a random player that didn't get any snaps last week. It was super strange, and it seemed to be in favor of Mingo getting more work. Now, we have seen him get 7, 6, 8, and 5 targets. That's very appealing there. That could easily occur again. And he could be something that gives you a sneaky 3x this week. And for what it's worth, I do think with Tank Dell looking like he's going to be out, Mechie could be someone we're potentially looking at for value. But once again, not someone that I would regard as a core play. I just want to bring that up if you guys are going through your builds and trying to find value. All right, so tight end wise, I think it's pretty simple. Like TJ Hawkinson, if you guys can afford to fit him into your builds, you should. I expect him to get targeted heavily in this game, probably 10 targets in this game with Justin Jefferson out. He had already been someone that Kirk Cousins frequently looked to. I think that's going to continue this week, especially going against the Bears, who have struggled to guard opposing tight ends. Dallas Goedert had himself a really kind of good game last week, kind of a breakout game last week. I kind of expect that to occur again. Like going against the Jets, that is their soft spot, is opposing tight ends. And we've seen 9, 7, and 7 targets. Like that is their weakness. And it's a little bit due to their corners being better. And so that is just naturally the weakness. That's naturally the spot where teams are going to be trying to force feed the football. And with that being Dallas Goedert there, obviously we like that. Logan Thomas is kind of like the easy go-to core play at tight end. We saw Sam Howell really just, and I think this is why they look so bad, is Sam Howell just had blinders on for Logan Thomas, strangely. He had Terry McLaurin running open. He had Jahan Dotson running open, and he was just force-feeding Logan Thomas the football. For the rest of the Commanders, that's not great. But for Logan Thomas, that's great, especially at 3.5. Like, even if he gets us his lowest output of the season at 7.1 DraftKings points scored, at his price tag of 3.5, that's still highly appealing. Now, I will say I do really like Tyler Conklin at his price tag as well. We have seen him be a top 10 tight end consistently with Zach Wilson starting and finishing games. And so I'm really just probably going with Conklin or with Logan Thomas. The nice thing about all those 4 tight ends that I mentioned, they're all in great spot. That's going to be all for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the coverage. If you did, make sure to give a like and subscribe. If you guys want access to some NFL DFS tools, click the link in the description below, 905sports.com. It is available for just $10 a month. All right, that's all I have for you guys for this video. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.